For this much bad to be brought upon earth, the earth had to be that horrifying. So for an antichrist like Michael Patterson's wife and Joanna to exist, the world had to be that sickening in the first place. So for an antichrist to become a one world government dreamer with a monumental dream to murder and alter humanity over and over forever, the earth was that bad and worshiped them and created them, and they became. So Jesus was 50% worshipped, 50% hated. So he was 50% degraded and treated like shit, had no church, on and on. And 50% had power and greatness and adornment that brought many, many amazing things to the 50% that worshipped and loved him. The 50% that loved and worshipped him kept getting a better, bigger, better life, which was pretty great because their life sucked really bad when Jesus got there. The 50% that hated him got a worse and worse destructive, death overloaded ending. When they tried to kill Jesus many times and did not succeed, don't even ask what it brought. When Jesus was murdered and they let the worst criminal out, an antichrist was born and ran amok. But I don't think they put it in the history books. But Jesus was only murdered once. So it was an antichrist like Hitler. It was some God-hateful, gross weirdo that murdered a lot. Like a Hitler got too out of control. And at some point, the gods destroyed him. I'm a dead God murdered over and over and over in mass quantity by participants against me. And it was all brought in here by the planet being that bad, which allowed Michael Patterson's wife, Joanna, the United States, and Dubai to become unthinkable, mass overloaded, murder happy, constantly sickening things. They've murdered more than millions, and you don't really want to understand everything. But that's how you end up with the future that you have. What you put in is always the future you get when God's around. So the more they did against my death, the more these antichrists had wings. The more the antichrists murder and have wings, the more everyone has to be stuck in the nightmare of all of it for a very, very long time. So all these people that created the nightmare of the antichrists are stuck in the death overloaded toll with the antichrists. So the antichrist becomes like an antichrist god. They worshipped murder, greed, everything against goodness. And the good dead God is like rotting over here. So there's not a lot of good on earth, but there's a ton of bad flooding everywhere. And has been flooding everywhere all along. Now, the Antichrist taught the world how to push the punishments away. Because the Antichrists were very good friends with the original son that murdered me. Sadly, though, when you push punishments away, at some point, all the punishments come in at once, which is what's happening constantly. So my job is to make sure people keep it to themselves. Thus is the spiritual cage. The spiritual cage forces them to shut up, no matter how much their nightmare is unthinkable. They need to keep it to themselves. But that is what has brought the most unthinkable, horrifying things into the future. You can't change life anymore. It's already done. But that's why it's really important to do good things. So I was always murdered and treated like shit. There is no good on earth. Jesus was half worshipped, loved, and adored. It brought 50% amazing good things to the earth constantly. So with the United States and Dubai, they taught people to, shove farts up my face, dead, and called it curing my death. Anybody and everybody started to really love it because shoving a fart on my death is really degrading and gross and sickening and disgusting. And it brought unlimited death and harm and destruction to all, including gods, angels, and more. You can't change life. You can just laugh when they get farts all over their death forever. Now, the damage was a long time ago. And I get it. You're a lot of very religious expert people. But you can't change anything. The end of the world is already at the end. This is the end where all the bad stuff comes in against bad once and for all. And they just, pretty much sit and rot in death that doesn't end forever. But at some point they can get off the earth and, get to go to hell and stuff. But this is the part where it's bad. They did nothing but murder me and treat me like shit. There is no power of good on earth. There's very little to anything good on earth. There's a few people that would not join the United States and Dubai and shove farts and crap all over dead gods and stuff all day and call it curing the dead. And, there's a few people that just said, I just want to be a good person out there. Yeah, but they didn't worship or bow down or give me anything. It was the 50% of earth that would have given Jesus everything and anything. That is why they had so much. So when Jesus was born, that planet was dying and suffering. And like when Jesus was born, Earth had a lot of medical massive nightmare problems and worse. By the time Jesus died, the 50% that really did completely love and worship him were horrifyingly, wonderfully walking on water and had beautiful, wonderful lives and not very many problems before he even left Earth. And their love and worship and adoration of him, and how they would have given him everything and anything, but he very seldom needed very much. But the fact that they just loved and worshipped him and gave him everything they had in a second, whether he, would have taken it or not, also brought really good, amazing things to beautiful, good people for 7,400. I don't know the equivalent of days or years, but for a very long time, the power of good was very powerful and amazing. When you just treat some dead god like garbage, there's nothing. So it's just over. You can find death on every corner, and you can thank the United States, but there's nothing you can do about anything. You just kind of go to my queen, my queen, my queen, and if you're smart, just focus on the ones that are amazing, beautiful, and savable. But there's no massive, great, wonderful anything. Jesus was loved and worshipped. He was loved and worshipped. The world would have walked up to Jesus and given their life, their soul, their money, anything and everything they had. That's why they had so much and ended up so many things. I'm murdered and treated like degraded fuck you garbage. I'm sure the United States and the people that murdered me are like God. There is nothing good. I'm sorry. Focus on the ones that are savable and make the best future out of whatever there is.